The story began on a stormy day above a dark palace where the silent assassin Akira faced another assassin chasing the same prey, his rival, who was weaker but defiant and refused to surrender, reaching his hand inside his cloak to pull a hidden weapon, running forward and throwing knives toward Akira. But to his surprise, the knives passed through him as if he were not there, and there was no other choice before him. The man took out his sword and engaged Akira in a fierce struggle of sparks and steel. Their swords clashed again and again until Akira struck the man's weapon and made it fly into the air. The rival quickly changed his tactic, pulled throwing knives, and started throwing them. Akira avoided them easily. When the rival threw the last hidden shot, Akira disappeared before his eyes and appeared behind him calmly. The man searched desperately for any opening, but Akira blocked every blow and pressed his hands down. In a final attempt, the assassin threw a kick with an armed shoe, but Akira expected the move and pierced his arm, then broke his leg and pinned him to the ground. Though he still had some tricks, the defeated assassin accepted his loss while the sword in the air came down and fell on him. After the danger ended, Akira sneaked into the castle like a shadow and entered the dark room where his target slept. For a short moment he hesitated, then raised his sword to finish the mission. Long ago, Akira lived a normal life as a student in Japan. On a normal day, a group of girls invited their friend Tsukasa to go to lunch with them. He apologized politely and said he had duties for the student council. This made them admire how seriously he took matters. At the same time, a girl named Shiori was thanked by her colleagues for the help she provided. Akira sat silent reading a novel on his phone. His friend Nanase came and asked him if he enjoyed reading ice cake stories. Akira replied simply that he read anything free. Nanase laughed and told him to share any new recommendations before leaving. Akira watched him as he walked away, saw some girls whispering and wondering who spoke to him. Akira ate alone, feeling it was strange for anyone to speak to him at all. Suddenly his phone started to flash and distort. Darkness like ink spread on the classroom ceiling. Shadows gathered and formed a glowing circle, and glowing symbols gathered under every student. Everyone stood frozen in shock. Suddenly a flash of light covered the room. In the moment after, they found themselves inside a huge hall, and confusion took over them. A stranger, wearing priest clothes, stood and told them the king would come to them soon. When the priest moved, a royal man and a young princess appeared, and the students were surprised. The man introduced himself as the ruler of a distant world named Morgan, and explained that they were brought from another world to side with humans on the continent. The kingdom was under siege by demonic forces. The king said that the warriors summoned from another world were the ones who could defeat the demon lord. The students got excited and thought about their big adventure, but the priest cut the enthusiasm and said only one of them had the mark of the true hero. When every student put his hand on a glowing ball to know his class, a boy named Urok discovered he obtained the Monster Tamer class. Although he was not the hero, the priest assured him his abilities were still valuable. Then a girl named Yoko knew she was a sorceress, Vic the sorcerer, and Tomoya took the title of knight. When Shiori discovered she was a healer, the priest announced that anyone could now see his class and his statistics without the ball. The students opened the status screens with excitement, and Nanase discovered he was a wind mage. He asked Akira about his class. He replied calmly that he was an assassin, but he was confused by the strength of his huge numbers. Very huge. Then Tsukasa approached the ball, and it glowed and displayed the hero class. The priest was surprised by the potential. Great potential. The others started to cheer. The class president with charisma. Akira sat silent because his feeling told him there was something wrong. If Tsukasa was the hero, why were his numbers so weak? While Akira's numbers were unbelievable, Nanase encouraged him to show his class. Akira hesitated because he did not trust the king or the story of the demonic invasion. He decided to remain hidden. He used a concealment spell to hide his existence. After seconds, Nanase looked around himself confused and thought that Akira disappeared and left. Senna opened his screen after everyone finished and saw his abilities. The priest announced that preparations for the special tools started and encouraged the students to rest in their private rooms. Akira was relieved that no one discovered his secret. He entered with the rest of the groups while hidden under the spell. As he walked in the halls, he saw a surveillance device in the ceiling and understood immediately that the king watched every step of theirs. This confirmed to him that trusting the king was a mistake, but Akira did not notice that a knight was following him from the shadows. At night, Akira found an unused storage room and decided it was a good place to hide in. After he settled, he went out again, sneaking, wanting to gather information while watching the horizon of the strange city. He was surprised by how real all this was. This world was completely different. He jumped easily between the towers, amazed by his advanced abilities. In the middle of observing, he heard nearby voices and hid to listen. Inside the room, the princess was speaking with the king and saying that the summoned students were children, naive, but they had rare abilities. The king was confident and told her to proceed with their plan. She left, and Akira from afar narrowed his eyes, wondering what the king intended. He thought he could finish him off right now before anyone noticed. The king suddenly felt something strange, but when he turned around, the room was empty and he went back to work. In the morning, Akira Akira remained hidden while getting food. He thought about warning the others, but he decided they would not believe him, not when they were easily deceived by the king's words. At a nearby table, Tsukasa stood and spoke to the rest of the students. He thanked the king for giving them powerful gifts and told them they owed it to him to help in, eliminating the demon threat. The group was enthusiastic about his words and fully behind him. Akira, from afar, could not stop himself from sighing. They already believed the false narrative of the king. Later, in the afternoon, the king's knight commander Saran gathered the new recruits outside for their first training session. For them, Hyde introduced himself with pride and boasted that he served as the last line of defense for the kingdom, and his companion Giles intervened calmly and reminded him not to be reckless. Saran then explained that all the students summoned would undergo a full-month training program before entering the labyrinth and facing real monsters. He told them because they still did not have real combat experience, he would help them learn the basics. The students cheered excitedly for what was coming. Akira remained hidden nearby, watching Saran carefully and wondering about his true motives. Akira then moved away to look for more clues, and Saran left the students under the care of Giles and went out of the training ground. Akira then walked toward the fountain, and suddenly Saran scared him while calling him. Akira was surprised and thought if the concealment magic had a time limit, but Saran reassured him that the magic was still working, but it did not affect him. The commander explained that he had rare magic eyes that let him sense heat energy and detect living bodies even if hidden. Akira immediately drew his sword, not knowing if Saran was a friend or enemy, but the commander added quickly that he did not intend to reveal Akira's secret. Akira knew the knight served the crown, but he was still not sure if he should trust him. However, Saran confirmed he was not working on the king's orders this time because he had his own reasons. Then he asked him to keep the meeting between them. After a moment of hesitation, Akira decided to give him a chance. They sat nearby, and Akira told him he was interested in reading the king's archives to understand this world better. Saran asked about the level of the concealment skill of Akira. Akira replied that it reached the maximum limit and everything else was still level 1, and admitted that he did not know how to develop it. Saran raised his eyebrow and laughed and said the library might not benefit him much anyway, so he offered to train Akira himself. The idea that he would become stronger and discover the secrets of this world pleased Akira, but he still wanted to return home and see his family. Saran agreed with this goal, but reminded him that until he found a way back, he would need strength to survive. Akira felt guilty that he was taking help without offering anything in return, so he asked how he could repay the favor. Saran smiled and told him to share stories from his homeland in exchange. Then, extending his hand, Akira shook it with a smile and introduced himself formally as a form of respect. From that day, they trained together, and Akira learned that besides humans and demons, this world also had elves and beast creatures. Saran put him through grueling training and explained that job levels increased only when defeating monsters, but skills developed through regular practice. Every day they trained. Saran started to get absorbed in Akira's stories about Earth and heard his description of mobile phones and airplanes and crowded cities. This made Akira discover how much he took the old world for granted and how strange it was that he missed it. Now, after a while, Saran sat in a quiet room with Giles, who curiously asked why. He was with Akira a lot now. Saran replied simply that Akira's stories about his world were very entertaining, and he could not miss them. Giles admitted also that she found them interesting, but when Saran mentioned casually that Akira had the true hero class and the concealment skill at the maximum level, Giles froze in shock, because only the first hero in their history had such a superior skill. After a while, Akira entered the room, and Giles apologized politely and left. Akira then handed Saran a book he took from the king's archives and told him it contained sensitive materials. Saran confirmed that the book explained plans to overthrow the king and admitted he wrote it himself and made it look like a cookbook, so Akira would discover it eventually. Saran admitted honestly that the king was corrupt and wanted to reshape the world for his sick benefit. Akira remembered the king's selection program and thought quietly. Saran then added that many of the king's knights had doubts about the king's rule. Akira guessed that they intended to remove him with as little blood as possible. Saran confirmed this. Akira mentioned that with the skills he had, eliminating the king would not be difficult, and that he sneaked into the king's office from the first day without anyone noticing. But when the chance came, he could not do it. Saran replied calmly that having the assassin class did not mean he was obligated to kill, and Akira thought quietly that he did not want his family to know he became a killer. Saran agreed with him completely, and Akira started to ask why someone like Saran put such great trust in him. Saran answered that Akira showed clear instinct, like when he refused to believe the king's story from the beginning. This decision alone, in Saran's view, proved that Akira thought for himself and trusted his instinct and was not influenced easily. The room went silent for a bit, and Akira finally spoke quietly and said that he was not used to this praise, and since he was young, people rarely noticed him. This surprised Saran, and Akira added that he was the first one to really acknowledge him. him. Sauron smiled warmly and made a light joke, and asked Akira if he was ready to help him as thanks for all this praise. Akira smiled lightly and told him he would think about it later. He went out quietly from the room. After a full month of training, Sauron gathered the students and announced that they would start their journey in the legendary Kant Labyrinth. Then crowds formed nearby to see the heroes as they departed. Akira was surprised quietly by how much attention people gave them, and his eyes scanned the place. He saw a girl standing alone at a distance. In a moment, he appeared behind her and startled her with a question, calmly about what she was doing. She got annoyed and replied bitterly, saying that their people paid a heavy price to summon the heroes. Akira told her calmly that he had no idea what she was talking about, but she said to speak to her when he knew the truth, and walked away. Then the heroes entered the labyrinth and found themselves killing waves of monsters. The group was surprised when a student accidentally triggered a trap. This caused a group of large enemies to descend on them. Akira eliminated one of the monsters and asked Sauron quickly if they should withdraw. Sauron agreed to buy time, using a powerful leader sword technique that wiped out the enemies in the way. But when they crossed the gate of the labyrinth expecting to succeed, they found an attack from other monsters waiting for them on the other side. In a moment of fear, Suzu remembered the emergency smoke bomb the princess gave her and detonated it. The explosion removed the small monsters, but from the smoke appeared a very huge minotaur. When Giles entered the room with the rest of the group, he was shocked by the monster's strength because it was on a low level. Akira did not waste time and rushed forward, avoided a huge blow, and climbed on the minotaur's back, cutting with his knife, but the weapon broke in two on the creature's thick hide. While scared, Akira jumped away to avoid a counterattack and ran again towards Tsukasa, who was barely able to stand drowning in guilt. Tsukasa whispered that he was useless, but Akira told him that heroes were not supposed to carry the burden alone, and reminded him that every student here trained, too, and the time came to let the others fight with him. But Suzu's breath accelerated, and she began to panic, overwhelmed by fear and doubt, seeing something strange. Akira asked the group's sorceress to intervene. She stepped forward and activated her spell, and removed the black curse that was feeding Nanase's fear. When it was removed, Nanase regained clarity. After Nanase stabilized, Akira looked at Sauron and asked him if the time came to use the technique they talked about. Sauron nodded his head strongly and released a flash of lightning hitting the minotaur, shocking the monster before the students. Seizing the chance, Akira disappeared into the shadows and appeared behind the monster, silently ready to release his strongest shadow spell. From the shadows, black threads came out suddenly, holding the minotaur and piercing his body, completely immobilizing the monster. Akira started dragging him into the darkness. His huge body disappeared until only his severed head remained. Despite the creature's situation, Akira was still not fully in control of his shadow abilities, and the energy started to rise out of control. Luckily, Sauron ran and helped him stabilize himself and guided him until he could calm his mind and pull the threads. After the danger passed, the group returned to the castle. There, Sauron praised Akira because he completed the mission, and thanks to him, everyone returned safe. But the shadow technique was very strong, but it pressed hard on the body, so Sauron advised him not to use it unless very necessary. To appreciate his effort, Sauron gave Akira a gift, a katana sword, and explained that this sword was originally made by the first hero summoned centuries ago. Akira thanked him for the weapon, but wondered why he gave him a legendary sword instead of the current hero Tsukasa. Sauron answered that Tsukasa had the legendary sword dedicated for battles, and the king would suspect if he saw Tsukasa carrying this sword, especially since Sauron actually stole it from the king's vault. Akira understood the situation and accepted the weapon, thinking to himself that it was amazing he now held the same sword used by the original hero. But this thought brought him back to Tsukasa's topic, which was still partially solved, although they confirmed he was cursed and removed part of the curse with a dispel spell. The root of the problem still existed, so Akira intended to know the real reason. At night, he sneaked to the princess's room and found her in the middle of a ritual, reinforcing the curse on Tsukasa with a glowing crystal. Her magic was slowly turning him into a mindless slave. Without hesitation, Akira cut the crystal in half and stopped the spell. This had to remove the curse, at least temporarily. But Akira was not finished. He held a sword to the princess's neck and demanded to know why she was doing this. Her reply was cold and mechanical, saying she acted for the king's benefit. But when Akira looked closely, he discovered something terrifying. There was no feeling in her eyes, no will, and no intention. She was not making a decision. She was just a victim under the control of someone else. Killing her was not logical like this. So without another word, Akira lowered the sword and walked away silent. Despite this, Akira should have eliminated her, because as soon as he left, the princess went to her closet and revealed a hidden stock of cursed crystals, one for each of his classmates, and started activating them without hesitation. After a while, Akira took some of the shards, hoping to learn something. As soon as Sauron looked at them, his face darkened, and he whispered resentfully that the king was still disturbed. He said he saw this type of crystals before. Then he asked Akira if he contacted the princess directly when he broke the crystal on Tsukasa. Akira admitted he did and confronted her on purpose to understand her motives. Saran shook his head and said there was no use trying logic with her in this stage. She was just a tool controlled by the king. However, Saran told Akira to leave tonight and sleep, but not in the castle, because things changed now. With the destruction of Tsukasa's crystal, the princess would likely target the rest of their classmates. The only reason keeping Akira safe now was that they did not know who he was exactly. But now after, they knew someone was working from the shadows. Saran was sure the castle guards would conduct a full search tonight, so hiding in storage would not work. Akira apologized because he exposed his cover without thinking of the consequences. But Saran smiled and told him he did not need to apologize. The mistake was part of growth, and his job as the adult here was to help him fix things. Akira nodded, grateful he had someone like Saran with him. Saran laughed and said that if Akira wanted to repay the favor, he must take him along when he discovered a way back to Japan. At night, Akira slept on a tree outside the castle, but his sleep was interrupted by the sound of chaos in the courtyard at dawn. Curious, he sneaked to see what was happening. He saw a group of guards gathered around some of his classmates. Among them, Tsukasa smiled as soon as he saw Akira, happy, but very tense. Akira's heart felt relieved for a second when he saw Tsukasa clearly free from the curse, but the look on his friend's face instantly told him something was wrong. Tsukasa ran to him in panic and asked where Akira was. He replied normally that he was resting and asked what happened here. He expected something minor. Instead, his eyes fell on the scene behind the group. He stood unable to move. Commander Saran lay motionless, on the ground with a knife buried in his heart. Akira fell to his knees, collapsed by the sight of Saran's body. His voice broke as he demanded to know who did this. Before anyone could answer, his classmates suddenly turned against him one by one. They started accusing him of being the killer. The dagger in Saran's chest looked like the dagger used by Akira yesterday, and this was strong evidence. But they all saw that same dagger break during the Minotaur battle. There was no way it could be his. But that did not stop them. They insisted that Akira's actions were always unnatural. He disappeared and appeared whenever he liked, and that was reason enough for them. Akira quickly understood what was happening. The king must have cursed the whole class. The only one still normal was Tsukasa. He tried to speak for Akira and said there was no proof to accuse him of something like this. Before he could finish, the king arrived with a cold voice and strict orders. He announced that Akira was guilty of high treason for killing Commander San and ordered immediately that Akira be restrained. He glanced at the princess, and in that moment he saw a slight smile on her lips and understood immediately it was a conspiracy. There was no use explaining anything because no one would believe him. As the guards advanced with their weapons, Akira activated his stealth skill and disappeared. The king was furious and ordered his men to search the whole castle, wanting him found now. Meanwhile, Akira moved silently in the shadows and approached Giles, one of the few he trusted. When Giles saw him, he told him quietly that those who killed Saran were actually the king's assassins, and now Akira was a target, so he had to flee quickly. Giles also added that Saran felt something like this might happen, so he left behind a supply bag, just in case. Akira thanked him, took the supplies, and fled the kingdom. In the evening, the king and the princess met, secretly to discuss their successful plan. The king admitted he did not expect that getting rid of Saran would be this easy, but luckily the assassins did a clean job. The princess told him that the rest of the class except Tsukasa were now fully under her curse, and the next step was to find a reason to launch a war against the Eastern nation. The king said the students would be perfect tools for the war. As for the one who fled, the king doubted the child could survive alone, but to be sure, he told the princess to send assassins named the Ravens to track him. At the same time, Akira arrived at the dungeon as Saran said. It was the best place to hide when someone chased him. No one would suspect checking the dungeon to pursue someone, so it must be a good place to hide. But food and water were scarce here, so he had to be careful. Although Akira could hide with his skill, inside there were still monsters that relied on developed senses like smell and hearing. With growth and the increase of the assassin class level, he would be able to erase every trace of scent and silence his steps, and suppress his body heat and become almost invisible. Boss rooms existed every 10 floors, and as soon as you entered them, the only way out was to kill the boss. This was a great danger if he entered one alone, but Akira did not have the luxury of waiting. As he walked deeper into the dungeon, a chimera attacked him. At first, he was able to dodge its claws and fangs. Then the snake tail sprayed him with poison, suddenly hitting his leg. The poison made his movement slower, and he was no longer able to move, like before. This gave the monster a chance, and it wounded him in the back, drawing blood. When it was about to finish him off, Akira played his trump card, and the shadow magic ignited and consumed the chimera in a single blow, eliminating the first boss in the dungeon. But the injuries and fatigue from using the shadow spell left him barely alive. As his eyes closed, the shadow energy automatically shifted to healing mode, treating his wounds while he was unconscious. At the same time in the royal castle, Tsukasa asked everyone to follow him outside the capital. His classmates were surprised and asked if he was serious about going to defeat the Demon King now. It seemed like a good excuse, so if Tsukasa agreed, his classmates immediately refused and told him to sit down and stop dreaming. They were not going anywhere. Their reaction confirmed to Saran before his death that the curse was real and controlling their minds. This was true. Tsukasa understood that. There was no solution other than leaving alone, but unexpectedly, a few of his classmates stepped forward and said they would come with him. Hours later, this small group stood with Tsukasa at the city borders, surprised that leaving the city was easy, but when they thought about it, they knew the reason. Their excuse was that they were going to fight the Demon King, and it would not look good for the king to prevent his heroes from performing their duty. After they agreed, Tsukasa asked the others why they chose to come, especially when everyone refused to even think about it. Yuki answered that she did not believe that anyone in their group was under the princess's influence. Then Asahina spoke and said he might help break the curse somehow. He was not sure why, but he had a vague memory that he sneaked into the princess's room and broke some crystals. It was revealed later that this act was actually Giles using his ability to temporarily control Asahina's body to break the curse. Although he could not free everyone, he was relieved that he could fulfill Saran's last wish. Upon their arrival outside the kingdom's borders, Asahina thought of Akira. He regretted that he did not try to find him sooner while he was still hiding in the castle. Even if he was under a curse, he felt guilty because he did not defend Akira when he needed it. In the original world, most of the class did not speak to Akira in school, but one day, while walking home, he bumped into him at a construction site. It was the first time they met outside of class. Akira asked him to keep the job a secret. He did not want his little sister to know. Asahina agreed immediately because he also had a little sister. Coincidentally, their sisters were close friends, and it turned out that they laughed about the topic back then. In the dungeon, Akira woke up. The first thing he thought of was a dream of meeting Asahina, so he wished he was okay. He also thought of his mother and sister in Japan, but after a while, he noticed something strange. He did not feel severe pain, although he remembered being wounded by the Chimera. He did not feel the pain he was supposed to feel. When he opened the status screen, he noticed that his statistics improved vastly after the Chimera battle, and this shocked him, especially the health, which was almost full despite the injuries. Also, the shadow magic rose to level 3, and he did not understand how it increased after one use. There was no time to think now, so he got to his feet and prepared to move forward into the depths of the dungeon. Akira encountered barriers on the path. When he cut them with his knife, he was surprised by a beautiful dwarf girl imprisoned inside. He thought this was a good chance to test one of his new abilities. He activated the World Eye, a skill that flooded his brain with all the information about the life of the target, but the information was too much, and he could not handle it. He had to stop the skill halfway through before his brain exploded from the amount of knowledge. When he looked at her condition, he noticed her health was very low, barely 2%. Akira lifted her gently and carried her to the 69th floor to a place with a quiet pool of water. He put her down to rest and recover. After a while, she woke up. Akira offered her water to help her recover. He told her to try to rest more, but she said she was too hungry to sleep, so he prepared a warm bowl of soup for her and served it to her. Gratefully, the girl who introduced herself as Amelia started eating without hesitation. After she finished, she looked around her and asked how she arrived here. The last thing she remembered was being deeper in the dungeon. Akira explained that he carried her to the nearest water source to recover safely. She was surprised by his kindness and said no one ever tried to help her like this before. After hours, Amelia returned to a better state. They went down together to the 80th floor. Akira started to wonder why she was still walking with him and thought she wanted to return to the surface after all this. But Amelia had no intention of leaving the place. She came to conquer the dungeon herself and would not leave before achieving her goals. Finally, they entered the boss room. The moment they entered, a huge dragon attacked them. They dodged in different directions so they would not be grouped together. Amelia acted first. She used gravity magic to pin the creature. Akira seized the chance to attack, but when he got close, the dragon stepped on him and knocked him into the air from the ground. Akira heard Amelia screaming and telling him the dragon was tracking his mana signature, so he had to disperse it into the surroundings. The problem was he did not know how to do that. He gathered mana from the surroundings and fired it as a raw blast before rushing in and plunging his sword into the dragon's eye. He ended the battle and the dragon fell dead, but Amelia looked at Akira surprised by what he did. He explained that since he did not know how to hide his mana, he used the surrounding mana as a weapon instead. She looked at him with astonishment because normal people were not able to do that. Before she asked how he did it, the dragon's body started to glow suddenly and then turned into a huge blue cat, leaving Akira and Amelia in total confusion. Amelia activated the World Eye quickly and discovered that the creature was a shapeshifter. This explained why it took the form of a dragon. With this information, everything started to become clear to her, because a real dragon would have endured much more than this cat imposter. Akira was amazed by the ease of Amelia using her eyes and asked her why she did not activate his skill. He remembered the last time when he tried and felt felt his brain was on the verge of explosion and remembered that his level was not sufficient to handle it safely. But Amelia said the opposite. The real problem was that Akira subconsciously rejected the skill, and this was what actually prevented him from using it correctly. At this moment, the black cat woke up and began to speak. It seemed upset that it lost to a human and a dwarf, especially when it transformed into a dragon for fun. Akira was amazed to hear it, but his shock angered the creature. The cat told him firmly not to confuse it with low-level monsters moved by instinct, because it was a higher being made by the Demon King himself. Akira, however, was not affected and replied that it did not matter because after the last blow, the cat was not able to continue the fight. The black cat was not interested in death, but before leaving, he had a message. Akira got to his feet slowly. His body radiated dark energy and calmed down. He announced that the Demon King awaited him in his castle in the volcano region on the continent of demons. This announcement immediately raised Akira's doubts. He asked how the Demon King knew about him and why he wanted him to visit. The cat answered that the Demon King was an entity beyond human understanding and could not explain more. While exhausted, the cat lay on the ground and told Akira to finish it, but he refused. The cat mocked him and told him to stop acting like a noble. Humans saw all demons as monsters and enemies they were supposed to kill, but Akira did not see it that way. The real enemy was the king, not the demons, and he was not ready to accept that they were enemies automatically because they were different. However, Amelia intervened and reminded him that the boss room door would not open unless the boss killed them or they killed the boss. The cat agreed with Amelia's words and mocked him, asking if he intended to die of hunger in the room. Curiously, he asked why Akira refused to kill him. The answer was unexpected and simple. Akira explained that he was a person who loved cats, and unlike other monsters, this one was able to speak, so he was convinced there must be a way to get them out of the boss room without killing the creature. At this moment, Amelia remembered an alternative way. If Akira made a contract with the black cat and accepted it as a companion, the creature would not be recognized as a boss, and this would make the room door open. The cat mocked the idea and said that only an experienced mage with precise control over mana could perform the ritual, and doubted that Akira had the ability. Amelia said no and confirmed that Akira exceeded the minimum requirement for the ritual. The cat remembered how Akira separated mana from his body earlier to mislead it, an advanced move only the first hero did before. She was convinced that Akira could complete the ritual, although she said she was not sure of his success. Akira asked what would happen if he failed. The cat warned him that one of them would die, or in the worst case, both their lives might be lost. Despite the risk, Akira was ready to proceed, but the cat was confused why he would risk it. With a resigned voice, it told him to proceed. It did not matter if it lived or died. This attitude annoyed Akira. He exploded and told him not to look at death with contempt. The cat replied calmly that living had no meaning to it. Akira decided to deal with this situation later, but now he turned to Amelia and asked her how to start the ritual. She explained to him the first step was to give the cat a new name. After thinking, he named him Night, inspired by his black fur that resembled the night sky. The cat remained silent with no reaction. Akira moved to the next step, injecting mana directly into Night's palm. Amelia warned that once the mana transfer started, there was no turning back if Akira lost control. During the process, this could cost him his life, but Akira did not hesitate and was confident in his ability to succeed. As soon as he started pouring mana into the cat's palm, he was hit by a sudden and very strong energy wave. He quickly understood that this wave was the cat's power itself, but before he could stabilize himself, his vision flipped and he found himself flying towards a city burning with fire. While terrified, Akira saw the horrifying scene, and in the middle of the chaos, Night was tearing through the city without mercy, killing anyone trying to escape. Akira tried to stop him, but Night released an attack with a flow of dark mana that hit Akira with destructive force. When Akira pulled himself up, Night demanded he stop hesitating and end the matter, and said this was the only way that would save him. But Akira was still unable to strike the cat. Seeing this, Night attacked again and scratched with his powerful claws. The pain that Akira felt in the dream world started to affect his real body. In the end, he decided to fight. He threw his dagger at Night, but the cat blocked it easily and started focusing his dark mana to finish the battle quickly. Akira pushed forward, but instead of striking, he intentionally took the blow and let the claws of Night pierce him. The black cat watched him with surprise and asked him impossible. What was he trying to do? He replied calmly and said he still refused to kill him and knew inside his heart that Night did not want to hurt anyone either. Night mocked him. He reminded him that he was still a monster even if he had intelligence. His instincts always screamed to destroy anything that stopped him. But Akira saw through this mask and knew that Night was tired of the endless killing cycle and told him that he did not have to fight these desires alone. He held Night's claws tight, and Akira promised him calmly to protect him, be by his side, and ensure he never went through something like this again. In the oppressive dream world, it started to fade, and with the beginning of Night's trust in Akira, his beast form turned into a normal small black cat, sitting in Akira's lap peacefully. The sun rose in the dream, reflecting a golden light, as a symbol of the inner peace that Night started to feel. And with this this, Akira exited the dream world, and when he understood that the contract ritual succeeded, he extended his hand to touch Knight to make sure. A golden mark appeared on the back of his hand. At the same time, the red circle on Knight's forehead turned to gold color. Amelia explained that this was the seal of the contract's success, and their souls were now linked. Knight woke up too, and looked at Akira asking about the extent of his new master's ability, and calmly accepted Akira as his master and pledged his loyalty or his life to him. Amelia stepped forward and introduced herself. He recognized her as his master's companion and showed her respect too. In this moment, a magic circle started to glow on the floor, a sign that the boss was officially defeated. However, Akira looked lost in thought. He said he preferred to walk to the next floor, but Knight was still injured bad. Knight reassured him and said the door would remain open until they decided to use it, so there was no need to rush. They decided to take time for recovery, and Amelia suggested that this time was a perfect opportunity to know each other better. Knight agreed immediately, and Akira was surprised by the speed of the change in his new companion's personality. At the same time, Tsukasa and his group arrived at a country founded by a hero like them summoned from Earth. They were shocked that the whole country resembled the shape of historic Japan, a place that made them feel nostalgic, and for the first time they started to relax. Before they sat to discuss their next plans, Tsukasa raised the biggest concern, their money, and said that in 1 month, and they ran out, they might find themselves with no place to live. One of the group suggested they become adventurers and said this was the most suitable job for people like them. Tsukasa agreed, and then turned the discussion to the next priority, gathering information. He proposed looking for someone who understood this world well, and also searching books that contained useful knowledge. One of the group added that he hoped there was a book explaining the way back to Earth, but Tsukasa thought that their best chance was defeating the Demon King. He explained that only the king and princess might know how to return them. Although their cruelty and deception, the only way to obtain their cooperation was eliminating the Demon King, and he said confidently that after they gathered enough money and information, their next destination would be the Demon Continent. But Asahina did not agree with the plan. He said, "We must first return Akira before we go." His instincts told him Akira's strength was progressing faster than anyone, and they would need him if they wanted to succeed. Some members were with Asahina while the others were skeptical. They still remembered he might be responsible for Commander Saran's death. The difference escalated into a small argument, and the girls intervened and tried to calm everyone and asked Tsukasa for the final verdict as the leader. Tsukasa sided with Asahina and admitted he believed that Akira was stronger than all of them, but he was also doubtful if they could really work with him. He explained that Akira always kept a distance from others, and even now, Tsukasa did not understand him, although they were classmates since kindergarten. The group was shocked by this revelation, and even Asahina agreed that Akira was not a person who played well with the team. Tsukasa explained that according to the old legend, only the chosen hero's sword had the power to defeat the Demon King. He had to get stronger to fulfill this role. Even if they found Akira, he might not agree to join if they were still weak. That is why Tsukasa decided it was best to stay in this country now and give time for everyone to train and strengthen themselves before they tried to meet with him. At the same time, Amelia opened her heart to Akira and Knight and told her past. She said her sister expelled her from their homeland, and the soldiers who served under them chased her without mercy. In the end, they cornered her by a cliff. In a desperate move, she used gravity magic and jumped into the river, which carried her away safely, but she was hurt badly and was exhausted. Suddenly, a black slime appeared and swallowed her completely. The thing she remembered after that was waking up inside the dungeon after Akira saved her. Akira felt sympathy after he heard her story, but Knight noticed some strange details. He said slimes usually did not swallow humans, and even if it swallowed Amelia, she would have been digested before Akira arrived. Amelia admitted she did not fully understand, but she was grateful to the slime because it somehow brought her to Akira. Akira told her to think about returning to her homeland and trying to reconcile with her sister, but Amelia gave up and said she did not have the strength to face her sister again. Akira reassured her and said things often resolve between siblings no matter what happened, and they were always family. He added that he had a sister too, and although she always teased him, he loved her very much. Amelia and Knight asked Akira if he wanted to return to his world and see his family. Akira said yes, but not now, because he had something he must finish first. He started speaking about Saran, the man who taught him to live in this world. When he thought about the betrayal that took Saran's life, his anger exploded. His voice intensified with anger, as he swore he would kill the king and the princess who plotted Saran's murder. The anger in his words made Amelia and Knight tremble, and Amelia called his name. So, he returned to his senses. Amelia and Knight revealed that they knew the name because Saran was a famous knight commander in the whole land. Akira felt the heaviness of the atmosphere, so he decided to break the tension. He wore a glove and waved it in front of Knight. True to his cat instincts, Knight jumped after it immediately. Akira laughed, surprised that the same move he used on all the stray cats in his country worked on a monster cat too. Amelia was interested and asked to try. Before long, she and Akira were playing playing and cuddling Knight, enjoying the warmth and comfort from his fur. The atmosphere around them lightened again. Knight looked at Akira and told him to take matters seriously, reminding him that their souls were now linked, and if one died, the other would die too. Akira said he understood well, but he was still happy to have a cat companion, especially since he always loved cats. Amelia sighed and said she was jealous because she also loved cats. After they finished playing, the group prepared to leave the dungeon. Akira asked Knight where the teleportation circle would take them, but the cat admitted he did not know and explained that only a few demons remembered the ancient craft of creating magic circles. Akira decided immediately that as soon as he reached the demon continent, he would track these demons and make them work with him. At that moment, Amelia thought and suddenly remembered an old tale about light blue teleportation circles that responded to a person's desire and took them wherever their heart wanted. But if more than one person entered the circle, it would respond to only one person's desire. Akira noticed that this might be a problem, but Amelia reassured him with a calm smile and said she did not mind going anywhere as long as she was with him. Akira did not dwell on her words, but as soon as he entered the magic circle, he thought a bit about his family and asked himself if the circle might send him home, but he dismissed the thought immediately because his priority now was revenge. The magic circle lit up and the whole group was transported instant to a dense forest with a huge, majestic tree in the distance. Amelia froze in shock at the scene, and Knight calmly recognized that this tree was the world tree and told them they arrived at the elven forest. Amelia was surprised they arrived here, but Akira saw that this was a welcome turn. Suddenly, an arrow flew through the air directed straight at Amelia. Luckily, Akira saw it in time and pulled her quickly out of the way. He rushed immediately towards the source of the attack, blocking the second arrow with his dagger, and approached quickly. With one move, he knocked the hidden archer to the ground, and Amelia quickly knew who it was. It was Liam. Liam frowned and said he never imagined he would meet the traitor while investigating the strange light in this area, and warned Amelia to run if she wanted to live. But Akira was not in the mood for empty threats. He pinned Liam to the ground, uninterested in his dramatic declarations. But his movement was a bit late, and when he raised his head, he saw that they were already surrounded. Leading the elven forces was Amelia's sister herself, Kilika. With eyes full of cold determination, she told Amelia that since she dared to return to the country alone, her death was now inevitable. But before all this, Amelia's life was going perfectly. She was the next heir to the throne in the Elven Kingdom and was convinced of her relationship with her strong sister. At least that was her belief. As time passed, the advisors and the royal guards started turning against her. In the end, Kilika made a shocking accusation and said that Amelia committed a terrible crime without investigation. The guards quickly concluded she was guilty just because she was born a child of the Rift. As a result, she had to flee the kingdom before Kilika and her forces killed her. And now, face to face, Amelia was completely lost. She tried to speak with Kilika and said she would leave voluntarily. No need for conflict. But Kilika was determined to catch her at any cost. Before Kilika could move, Akira stepped forward and positioned himself protectively in front of Amelia. Kilika asked Akira, with condescension, wanting to know who he thought he was to interfere in elven affairs. He replied calmly that he just met Amelia yesterday, but he really liked her and would not stand silent when Kilika spoke to her that way. He also pointed out that Kilika kept calling Amelia a criminal and asked her directly about the crime Amelia committed. Kilika rolled up her sleeve to show a dark bruise along her arm. She claimed that Amelia once gave her a drink mixed with poison, an act that even royal blood could not overlook. Amelia immediately defended herself and said the mixture she gave Kilika was just a potion, but Kilika ignored the words and said no one would believe that story. Then she approached Akira and looked into his eyes. Amelia warned Akira to get back quickly, but it was too late. Kilika laughed and said her ability of psychological influence was working now, meaning Akira was under her spell. For her, Amelia lost her only ally. Kilika expected to see Amelia collapse in despair, but instead she saw pure anger in her sister's eyes. Amelia screamed at Kilika to break the spell and apologized to Akira because he deserved the freedom to choose whom to like. This sudden outburst completely surprised Kilika because she always saw Amelia as weak and shy, but now she looked ready to tear anyone apart. At this moment, Akira stepped forward and calmly told Amelia to calm down and assured her he was not under any spell. Because mind control abilities like mesmerize worked on those much weaker than the mage, Kilika mocked and refused to believe someone like Akira could be stronger than her. But he did not care about her opinion. What mattered to him was how people saw Amelia, so he told her firmly that she must withdraw the false accusations against her. Kilika asked what made him certain the accusations were false. Akira replied he was confident Amelia would never resort to something vile like poisoning her sister. When she understood it was impossible to convince him to hand over Amelia, Kilika ordered her guards to execute him immediately. But before anyone could move, the king of the elven nation appeared suddenly and ordered everyone to lower their weapons immediately. Kilika was surprised to see him because he was supposed to be away on a long inspection for months. But the king explained an urgent matter brought him back early and demanded an explanation for Kilika's behavior here. Before she could answer, the guards quickly defended her and said she did nothing wrong. The king immediately suspected she used her ability to control the guards, so he ordered her to release the control magic immediately. Then he walked straight to Amelia and offered her a sincere apology. He said he did not know exactly what her sister did to her, but he assured her she would be held accountable. Then he turned to Akira and ordered him strictly to leave immediately, saying there was no valid reason for a human to trespass on elven lands. Amelia intervened to defend Akira and explained to her father that he was the one who saved her and brought her safe. Although the king appreciated Akira's role, his hatred for humans remained, so he insisted that Akira leave no matter what. Amelia said she would leave too, but the king got angry and refused, saying she was the only one he fully trusted to succeed him on the throne, and he would not stand by and let her go. Akira intervened and reminded him it was not his business. The decision was Amelia's. The king told Akira to stay out of it. It was not his concern. But Akira was not a subject of the king and had no reason to obey the order. He said frankly he was ready to make. The king listened by force if needed. And from what Akira did with Liam, who was still on the ground, the king knew he wasn't joking. And the king never avoided a challenge, so he formally proposed a duel with Akira on the condition that the loser obey the winner. Akira agreed immediately. With the challenge set, the king announced that the battle would happen at the base of the legendary tree according to elven customs. While heading there, Amelia apologized to Akira because she caused him this trouble, but he told her there was no need because he chose himself to intervene. He changed the subject and mentioned Kilika, calling her a child of the rift, and asked what it meant. Amelia explained that according to ancient elven legend, when twins were born, one could be different from their parents. This child was believed to bring disaster to the land and was classified as a child of the rift. In the past, it was common to kill the different twin at birth. He was shocked to hear the elves still held onto the superstition, even though it was debunked long ago. Amelia explained that usually it wasn't a problem now, but recently Kilika had been using it against her more, especially because Amelia's eyes and hair color were different from the whole family. It was very clear that Kilika was just exploiting the legend as an excuse to expel Amelia. Finally, they arrived at the base of the legendary tree. Since Kilika was the one who started the conflict, she would be the one to face Akira in the duel. But before it started, Akira decided not to use the concealment skill because there was no point in winning unless everyone saw with their own eyes. Amelia warned him that Kilika was the strongest swordsman among all elves, so the battle would not be easy and he must remain cautious. Akira noticed that Amelia was still talking about her sister with admiration despite everything that happened, and she explained that they were very close as children. No matter what Kilika did, Amelia would always see her as her beloved sister. With the start of the duel, Kilika drew her sword while Akira kept his sword sheathed. Kilika asked if he was trying to insult her by not taking the duel seriously, but Akira replied calmly that he simply did not want to risk killing her by mistake during the fight. As soon as the confrontation started, Kilika pushed and launched an attack, fast and precise on his vital points, but Akira dodged every blow easily and admitted that Kilika really deserved the title of strongest swordsman, but his speed was superior, and this allowed him to dodge her attacks and push her back easily. He advised her to surrender before she hurt herself, but she refused to be underestimated and activated her trump card. A violent current of wind wrapped her sword, and she released a violent gust towards Akira. The technique surprised him and caught him off guard for a moment, but he quickly regained his focus and moved aside. Knight identified Kilika's skill as reinforcement magic, and Amelia explained it was the only form of magic Kilika could use, and she took it through constant training to the point of mastery. With this ability, Kilika released wind attacks, devastatingly and freely, forcing Akira to keep moving to avoid them. Through the clashing sound, he noticed deep sadness on her face. When he asked her about this, she denied it and said she was happier than any time before. But Akira insisted she did not look like that at all. Unable to stand his constant questions, Kilika launched an attack again, but he avoided it easily and swept her legs, making her fall into the dirt. Before she could recover, Akira appeared behind her, placing a sword gently on her neck, a silent sign that he could have finished the battle at any moment. Once again, he urged her to surrender and reconcile with Amelia, but Kilika refused with stubbornness. Extreme. She screamed that it was impossible to reconcile with someone who stole everything from her. Then she exploded with rage and released uncontrollable wind waves in every direction. She screamed that she had nothing left. Amelia and her spirit medium blessing took everything. In the past, Kilika and Amelia were very close, but everything changed when it was revealed that Amelia had the spirit medium class. When she mastered it, she promised power unmatched on the continent. From that day, anything Kilika achieved was not enough. Amelia tried to reassure her that this was not true, but Kilika was drowning in anger and did not listen. At that moment, Liam approached Amelia and asked her to help him save Kilika and gave her something that made her understand his his plan immediately. She got on Knight's back and used the legendary tree branch that Liam gave her to channel purification magic and break the magic that was under Kalika's control. As soon as the magic broke, Kalika went into a frenzy. She summoned the strongest wind wave she had, and Akira was forced to respond with his shadow magic. After a violent struggle, he managed to overcome the angry winds and made Kalika fall to the ground, draining her will to continue the fight. After a while, Liam and Amelia ran to her side to make sure she was okay. Kalika looked at them and painfully asked if they came to laugh at her after she was defeated. He reassured her calmly and told them it was not like that. He was really worried about her. But Kalika refused to believe him. She accused him of running straight to Amelia as soon as the charm ended. Then the remaining magic faded. Amelia calmly told her that Liam was never under her charm in the first place. Kalika insisted and told them to finish her right away, exile her, execute her, anything, because she did not want to live like this anymore. Before she finished, the king spoke and said that the one who truly deserved punishment was him, because he was the reason Kalika reached this state. Kalika was surprised and asked what he meant. The king explained that long ago he sealed parts of her memory to protect her. Now he understood that this decision was a big mistake. When he mentioned the oblivion skill, all of Kalika's lost memories returned at once. She remembered when she was a child, she trained near the dungeon. One day a stranger appeared at the entrance and told her she would get stronger faster if she used one of the strange balls he had. With naive confidence, Kalika took one of the balls and ran to the dungeon to try it. But as soon as she did, a group of powerful monsters attacked her suddenly. When she understood she could not face them alone, she tried to flee and discovered the monsters were chasing her outside. Dungeon monsters were not supposed to be able to exit, but these were different. When she knew they were heading to the elf village, Kalika chose to stand and fight. She tried with all her might, and the chaos attracted the attention of nearby elves who ran to help her after understanding there was a big problem. Liam was the first to arrive, but unfortunately, he was stabbed immediately in his chest by an ogre. Kalika watched helpless at her friend's death before her eyes. The shock and guilt from that moment almost broke Kalika's mind, so the king decided to seal these memories to protect her from the painful truth. Also, Liam was not the only victim of the battle, but the situation was fixed thanks to Amelia, who used her spirit medium abilities to create 2 advanced spells, gravity magic and summoning magic. With them, she was able to return everyone who fell and ensured no one actually lost their life. But since Kalika remained the only one who didn't know the truth, the people who were involved started to distance themselves from her gradually after a while. Kalika interpreted their distance wrong and assumed they lost interest in her because she was not a spirit medium like her sister. Affected by the truth, Kalika collapsed in tears, heartbroken, because she turned her sister into an enemy due to a painful misunderstanding. But Amelia told her gently that this was not true, and no matter what happened, she would never actually hate Kalika. Kalika knew she had to repair her damage, but Amelia reminded her that in the end, they were still family, and in her heart, nothing would change that. On the same night, a big feast was held. To celebrate Kalika's change of heart, the king thanked Akira personally for his help in restoring peace to the family, and as promised, he gave Amelia the freedom to determine her future, even if she chose to go on a journey with Akira. The king asked Akira about his next destination. Akira replied that he intended to go to the monster continent because Knight said it was the best place to get equipment and weapons of high quality. At the same time, Asahina and the rest of Akira's classmates were getting ready on a ship heading to the monster continent. They intended at first to stay in their place and wait for Akira to catch up with them, but now their strength grew very much, and the monsters in the Yamato dungeon no longer provided experience. Instead of wasting time standing in place, they decided to travel to the monster continent and upgrade their equipment in preparation for anything coming. The next day, the Elf King arranged a full guard with Akira and Amelia to the kingdom's borders so they could travel safe. Akira felt it was a bit exaggerated, but the king explained that a series of kidnappings happened along the coast recently, and he wanted to ensure they were protected well. He said he would feel more relieved if he allowed them to accompany him personally, but Akira refused polite and was content with the carriage. During the ride, Akira asked Knight why she remained low level during all the chaos with the elves, especially since she could intervene. Knight explained calmly that she did not want to reveal her true identity as a demon because not all people would accept her as he did. Akira understood why she preferred playing the role of a normal cat, but he kept asking if the demon lord approved of this, especially if he was still watching. Knight confirmed to him that he was right to be cautious. Her senses were still connected to the demon lord, so he could watch her, but she reassured him she would never betray him. This eased Akira's anxiety a bit, especially since he might face the demon lord one day depending on events. But Amelia did not see things going that way. On the contrary, she felt the demon lord might actually like to be his friend, and surprisingly, Knight agreed. After what Akira did yesterday, there was no doubt he attracted the demon lord's attention. illusion. Very few could control shadow magic effectively in battle, but Akira was able to cover himself with it completely. Akira explained that this happened in the moment he was afraid the magic would go out of control and hurt Kilika. But even if he did not intend to do it, doing something like this was not easy at all. At this moment, Akira noticed something strange ahead and told the driver to stop the carriage. He got out and told the others that his detection skill alerted him to a group of people. A bit further down the road, the driver took a telescope and indeed saw a group of bandits waiting for them ahead. And worse, the bandits also saw them and came out with an elf hostage. They threatened to kill her if Akira and the others did not carry out their demands. Since there was no better solution now, the group sat silent while the bandits threw them a pile of ropes and ordered everyone to tie each other up. At this moment, Amelia stepped down from the carriage. When the bandits saw her hair color, they lit up with joy. They knew immediately she was one of the elf princesses, and if they handed her to someone like Lord Graham, they would surely earn a huge reward. The bandits were too busy laughing and whispering about their luck. Akira quietly activated the concealment of his presence. In the blink of an eye, he struck them all, and they lost consciousness before they even knew what happened. Then he told the driver to tie them with the ropes they brought. After the matter was settled, Akira started to wonder, who was this Lord Graham? Luckily, the driver said he heard the name before and explained that Graham was a noble from the Orc Kingdom. This was enough information. So Akira ordered the driver to take the captured bandits to the Elf Palace while he and Amelia continued the rest on foot. The driver started to object and reminded them that his instructions were to take them to the harbor, but since they were close, Akira reassured him there was no problem. After a short time, Akira, Amelia, and Knight boarded a ship. When they arrived, Akira intended to equip himself with new gear to continue increasing his strength. Amelia was a bit surprised that he was still focused on training, even though he was very strong, but Akira insisted that if he was serious about avenging Saran, he could not stop now. Amelia said the city they were going to had a dungeon, so if Akira wanted to train more, he would find a perfect opportunity, but that was days away, so she suggested they enjoy the trip now. At the same time, Amelia was very excited because it was her first time riding a ship. She told Akira she was excited to see the sunset with him. When she looked to see his opinion, he did not hear a word. His attention was entirely on a book, the same book her father gave him as a farewell gift. He was reading it with such intensity that he did not notice Amelia's annoyed expression. In fact, Akira spent the whole trip buried in the book, making Amelia feel a bit neglected. When they arrived at the monster continent, Akira noticed something strange. The only monsters working in the people at the port were humans. This immediately made him feel strange. Before he focused more, a group of beast monsters stood before them, blocked him, and demanded he leave Amelia and walk away. It did not take long for Akira to understand. The monsters here clearly looked down on humans, and this could turn into a problem, so he quietly asked Amelia to stay behind him and let him act. Akira started walking straight toward the monsters, and they laughed and mocked him. After all, there was no way that a weak human could threaten them. But instead of force, although he could have wiped them out easily, he took the smartest path and charmed them with shadow magic to blind their eyes temporarily. Thus, he led Amelia quietly through the astonished group. As they walked in the city, Akira noticed that many people were staring, but not focusing on them. Knight explained to him that cats here were feared and held in high regard. In the evening after, they entered the hotel and had dinner. Akira suggested they go to sleep. The room had 2 beds, but Amelia noticed they were very big and said they could share one easily. Akira was surprised. Knight, sensing the playfulness, decided to disappear to give them privacy. Akira tried to call her, but she vanished. Then Amelia said she would go take a shower, and this left him frozen, not knowing how to act. When she returned, she found Akira in the bed pretending he was asleep. Amelia understood he was tired from the day, abandoned her plan, and slept next to him. On the second day, Knight returned to the room. When she saw Akira and Amelia sleeping in the same bed, she concluded immediately that they got a bit closer, but ignored this and mentioned that there were guests coming soon, so it was best they got dressed. After a while, someone knocked on the door. Akira asked him to enter, and a man named Crow entered. Knight introduced him as the best swordsmith in the whole continent and added that she met him yesterday and asked him for a favor. Usually, Crow did not take requests like this, but when Akira requested personally, he could not refuse. This title surprised Amelia, and she wondered why Knight called him that, but there was no time. Crow asked for Akira's weapon to see it. After he examined it, he noticed the weapon was very worn out, likely in a labyrinth, and was exposed to many hits. Amelia was amazed that he knew from a quick glance. Akira asked Crow if he could repair the weapon, and Crow said with the right materials and budget, this could be done. Akira also asked about the possibility of making about 20 daggers for assassination. Crow was surprised when he knew that Akira was actually an assassin, and after he calmed his nerves, he told Akira that he might not have enough experience to handle weapons like his. Amelia got a bit annoyed because she felt it was an insult to Akira's skill, but he could not argue. Knight intervened and told Amelia to let it go, because although Crow was a swordsmith, he was part of the hero's party, and when it came to experience in battle, he really understood. Although Crow stuck to his words about Akira's lack of experience, he agreed to make the weapons. He wrote a detailed list of the materials Akira must gather, and at this time he said he would keep Akira's sword so it would not get damaged more. Crow said the sword was a bit of a surprise, but Knight reassured Akira that his weapon was safe, and no one was better than Crow in this craft. Akira trusted Knight's judgment, but still did not know where to start looking for the materials. Knight explained to him the fastest way was exploring the city's labyrinth, and also an excellent chance to increase the level, and this pleased Akira very much. The labyrinth existed in the middle of the city, but accessing it depended on the adventurer rank. Akira did not see that this would be a problem, and started making a plan for hunting. Meanwhile, Amelia asked if she could go out because she wanted to talk to Crow directly. Akira said he did not mind because he still had research about the labyrinth before entering it, but he asked Knight to go with her and follow up via telepathy if something strange happened. A while later, Amelia and Knight arrived at Crow's workshop. There, Amelia brought up something. She heard that during the failed mission against the Demon Lord, the hero and only one monster survived, and she assumed that monster must be Crow. Crow told her she could mock him if she wanted, but that was not Amelia's intent. She was convinced that Crow survived because he was strong, and that was the reason she wanted to learn fighting from him. Crow refused immediately and said he made a decision long ago not to take another student. He explained that anyone he tried to train either gave up or fell into severe depression, so he did not see a point in wasting his time. But Amelia promised with all strength that she would not give up and would not break. She wanted to walk beside Akira with head held high, and if he continued to strengthen himself, she also wanted to grow so the gap would not get bigger between them. Crow once again called Knight by the name, Nightmare of Adley, and reminded her that their agreement was only about repairing Akira's weapon. But Knight quietly indicated that Amelia was asking this on her own, and it had nothing to do with Akira. She also asked him politely to stop using the old title, and said her name was Knight now. Amelia was curious and asked why he continued calling her that from the beginning. Knight explained to her that years ago the Demon Lord sent her to Adley as punishment after humans invaded the Demon Land. Her official mission was to bring the city leaders, but anger took over her, and she went too far beyond what was required and destroyed the whole city. She admitted that she did not have any justification for what she did and bore full responsibility. This was exactly the reason for her request from Akira to end her life when she met him for the first time. But she changed since then, and as long as she was under Akira's command, something like that would not happen again. Crow asked her if she really believed it was easy to leave the past behind, but Knight told him she knew very well that what she did would not be forgiven, so if he still hated her, she understood. The surprise was when Crow said that he never held any hatred towards her. A few years ago, after he and the hero's party failed to defeat the Demon Lord, Crow was holding a memorial at his sister's grave. When Knight appeared, she immediately knew he was one of the few who survived the battle. When she saw he was sad, she told him he could kill her if he wanted, and she would not resist. But Crow told her that he did not blame her for what happened. To him, she was just a weapon made by the Demon Lord to execute his orders, and blaming her was no different than blaming the sword instead of the person who used it. Knight asked him if he intended to face the Demon Lord again, but Crow calmly told her that neither she nor the Demon Lord were responsible for his sister's death. After Knight's attack on the city, his sister was trying to help people trapped under rubble, but at the same time, a noble was trying to escape hysterically. Instead of finding another way, he chose to blow up the area and struck his sister with a fatal blow because she was in his way. That man was the real reason for losing his sister. So if Crow intended to take revenge, it would be on Lord Graham. But in the end, he did not follow through because he knew inside his heart that his kind sister would not want him to take this path. Then Amelia intervened and called Crow a coward because he withdrew. She accused him of clinging to a delusional belief that his sister would not want revenge, so he would not face truth or deal with his pain. She said she understood more than anyone because for a long time she told herself the same words that she was doing, everything for her sister's benefit. But Akira helped her realize she was very wrong. Her words affected Crow deeply and stirred something inside his heart. He needed time to deal with this, so he asked Amelia and Knight quietly to leave him alone for the rest of the day. At the same time, Akira was in the city searching for the labyrinth. Suddenly Suddenly, monsters started coming out of it and filling the streets. Amelia saw the chaos and ran to help, but suddenly she was intercepted by a boy named Oram. She recognized him immediately as the same boy who deceived Kilika when they were young. Oram said he was acting on the Demon Lord's orders to keep Amelia alive because she had rare magic that might be useful. So he surrounded her with monsters and took her hostage quickly. When Akira arrived, Oram was dragging Amelia inside the labyrinth. Akira intended to enter to rescue her, but first he had to clean up the situation. He told Knight to move away, and she flew immediately, knowing what was coming. Akira used shadow magic without any reservation and made all the monsters disappear. But the huge pressure on his body affected him. When the last enemy fell, he fell from exhaustion. Knight came down to see if Akira was okay. Suddenly, the strange system inside him activated. Due to the large mana depletion, shadows swept over his body and put him in a state of recovery. Knight did not know what happened, but after moments, Akira's injuries disappeared and his body was fully repaired. But he was still unconscious. When he woke up, he was in a strange bed, confused, and asked Knight what happened. She explained to him that he lost consciousness after using shadow magic, so she moved him to Crow's place to be safe. Akira worried and asked how long he had slept, fearing it was 5 or 6 hours. But Knight told the truth, a full day and 5 extra hours. This shocked him greatly, but she said it was not strange because he almost killed himself and drained every drop of mana. What was strange was that during his unconsciousness, shadow magic activated on its own and filled the mana tank completely. Knight could not explain the reason and asked Akira if he knew something, but he himself was lost and honestly did not care right now because he had more important things. He got out of bed and saw Crow and thanked him for allowing him to use the place, but now he had to move. Crow asked if he really thought it was smart to enter like this because a whole day passed and Amelia might be halfway to the demon continent now. Akira did not care and said if so, he would go to the demon continent and get her. But Crow asked how he would face the demons without weapons. Akira said he would manage even if empty-handed, but Crow pointed to a table beside them where all Akira's equipment was repaired and arranged and ready for battle. They were sitting there the whole time. Akira missing them was proof he was not focused. Crow told him to take a breath and calm down before he rushed. Akira focused and examined his weapons. Crow reforged his sword to become a pair of short knives that suited the assassin style, but this required materials and great effort. Naturally, Crow expected him to pay him back after. Akira saved his girlfriend, and Crow had one last thing to give him. He showed Akira an old ring with an inscription saying, "I will lead you anywhere." It turned out it was made by a former hero and carried unique magic that guided the wearer towards what he desired most. Akira tried it and focused on Amelia. A glowing red line came out of the ring straight toward the labyrinth. If they had taken her to the continent of demons, there was no way it would go that way. So Amelia must still be trapped inside the labyrinth. He might not know the exact place, but just knowing that she was still there was enough. He equipped his gear and went out the door with Knight behind him. On the way, Knight asked him not to make any reckless moves like before. Akira apologized and understood that he forgot that if he died, she would die too. He had to think before any dangerous step and be careful. At the same time inside the labyrinth, Amelia was lying on broken pillars, and Oram was looking at her with a smile of satisfaction because everything was going as he wanted. He explained that demons like them could use magic to control monsters, but he never tried on a human before, so he was curious to see its effect on her. Although he could not control her mind, the magic was able to freeze her body, and this made imprisoning her easier. In a faint voice, Amelia asked why she was still trapped. He got a bit bored and decided to answer her in a hostile manner. He told her that only second-class demons had teleportation abilities, and he was third class, so he had no choice but to wait for one to arrive, and only then would he move her from here. Amelia asked where exactly he would take her, but he shrugged his shoulders and said he did not know. He swore he was honest and knew she was trying to learn something, but he did not care. Even if her assassin friend was coming to rescue her, he was confident that Akira had no chance. But he reassured her she would not be harmed because he had strict orders to deliver her to the demon lord alive and unharmed, and he intended to carry out the orders. Outside the labyrinth, Akira arrived finally, and the ring confirmed that Amelia was inside the labyrinth. Without wasting a second, he told Knight to prepare. But before they entered, a girl called out to him suddenly and asked to join Amelia's rescue mission. Akira immediately recognized her as the girl he met quickly during the hero's parade. But there was no way for her to know that Amelia was inside the labyrinth, so he did not wonder and grabbed her by the neck, immediately demanding to know how she found out. He made it very clear that whether she walked away from here or not depended entirely on what she said now, so she better choose her words carefully. The girl was gasping and choking and said she followed Amelia's trail using her abilities as a beastkin. The trail led her directly to this place and disappeared at the entrance, so she assumed Amelia must be inside. Akira narrowed his eyes, not convinced, but Knight intervened and said it was natural for Beast kin to have evolved senses, so the story could be true. Akira calmed down a bit and put the girl on the ground and demanded to know coldly who exactly she was and why she was here. After catching her breath, the girl introduced herself as Leah Lagoon, the first princess of the orcs. She said she got information that the demon lord intended to take Princess Amelia, so she came to warn them. Akira asked why she did not say anything when they first arrived in the city. Leah explained she did not think anyone would believe her without concrete proof. She wanted to investigate and gather evidence first, but before she could do that, the demons moved. Akira was still not sure if she was truthful, so he activated his world eye skill to examine her status. From what he saw, she was not lying, but something in her status window caught his attention, a unique skill. He asked her what the spirit barrier skill did. Amelia was surprised he knew about it, but Akira interrupted, saying he was the one asking now. She explained that most barriers were fixed, but her barrier could be attached to moving objects. Akira asked immediately if this included people, and Leah confirmed. This was enough for him because she could be a very valuable ally for what was coming. Then Amelia added another thing. The demon lord targeted Amelia for her summoning magic. When he heard this, Akira understood the magnitude of the situation and decided immediately to tell Leah to ride on night with him because they were going in now. At the same time, inside the labyrinth, Oram revealed that the demon lord wanted Amelia's summoning magic, but she did not understand why. Demons lived almost forever and were hard to kill. So, for what reason did they need summoning magic? Honestly, Oram did not understand either, because resurrection magic could not bring back people from long ago, and once performed it could be done again after a few days, so its benefits were limited. What confused Amelia more was how much Oram knew about the details of her magic. Before she asked anything, he changed the conversation immediately and reminded her that when he killed Akira, she would not be able to bring him back because she used the magic on herself after the fatal blow. He smiled as if happy and said he could not wait to see the expression on her face when Akira's body fell dead, and wondered if her reaction would match the horror he saw on Kilika's face years ago. Meanwhile, on the surface, while heading to the labyrinth, Akira asked Leah what she was doing in the Raven's Kingdom when he met her the first time. She explained she was looking for her family, who were kidnapped by black slimes. This surprised Akira and Amelia because she also encountered a black slime, although he was not sure if there was a connection between the two events. Leah continued and said she was adopted into the orc royal family. Before that, she lived in a quiet and isolated village. One day, black slimes appeared. Suddenly, usually slimes were weak and easy to kill, but these were different. They ate her mother, father, and little brother, and wiped out the whole village in one day. There was no way normal slimes could do that, so she was convinced that someone manipulated them and released them on purpose. After she lost everyone she knew, the royal family stepped in and offered to adopt her, knowing she had the ability to protect herself. She accepted and became the Orc Princess. With the new title, she pursued the investigation of the slime incident, and her search led to the Ravens. When she met Akira for the first time, she discovered her village was not the only one hit. Dozens of people, humans, beastkin, and even some elves disappeared in similar attacks, all victims in a summoning ritual. And worse, she later discovered that the ritual was what summoned the heroes. When she watched the procession that day, it was not a celebration. She wanted to see the faces of the people her entire village was sacrificed for to bring to the world. Akira asked her if she held any grudge against him, but she said she knew he and the other heroes were not the cause of what happened. Her hatred was directed at the king and princess because they killed those she loved for their personal gain, and Akira also had a score to settle with them, so they had something in common. While discussing the summoning ritual, Akira told Leah he did not believe that. The king actually summoned them to fight the demon lord, and Knight told him he was right not to believe because it was a clear lie. The demon continent did not try to attack humans in the last 100 years, and there was no sign of that. So the king's claim that he needed to summon heroes to respond was a complete lie. The group arrived inside the labyrinth. The way it worked here was that you had to defeat a certain number of monsters on each floor to advance. Akira said he could use shadow magic to eliminate the monsters quickly, but Knight told him he shouldn't. He would have to fight a demon when they found Amelia, so it was dangerous to exhaust himself before they arrived. Akira said there was no other choice because Leah could not fight and he was the fastest here. Knight said she could fight instead of Akira, and if she entered battle mode, she could wipe out the monsters on every floor quickly, but there was a risk she might lose control of her instincts, so she was afraid to hurt Akira or Leah. Akira looked at Knight and reassured her that as long as he was there, he would ensure she did not lose control, so Knight decided to trust him. After that, Knight released all her power and started sweeping through the dungeon with Akira and Leah on her back. To ensure she did not lose control, Akira used the mental link between them to calm her. Since they had time, he asked her why demons were hated in the first place. Knight explained that the first demons were not evil, but the first demon lord ordered an attack on other nations, and since then, people had hatred toward demons. Some demons were truly evil and saw other races as insects to be crushed. At the same time, there were demons who wanted to live in peace and avoid blood. She asked Akira to remember that not all demons were evil. After a short while, they arrived at the floor where Amelia was trapped. When they arrived, Leah immediately put a barrier around Akira and Amelia. Oram was a bit surprised because he did not expect Akira to arrive this fast. But Akira was very serious and said he was here to bring Amelia back. Oram laughed and asked how he intended to do that when he was about to die. Without waiting a single second, he pushed with a surprise attack, but Oram blocked the blow easily and started pressuring him, cutting his limbs every while. It was clear he was just playing with Akira and knew he was much stronger than him, but Akira still had a trump card. He activated his shadow magic and used the blood on the ground to summon shadow beasts to fight. Oram was surprised by the creatures, and this gave Akira a chance to get close and cut his arms and legs, leaving him severely wounded. In a desperate move, Oram summoned all the labyrinth monsters under his control and sent them to attack Akira, who was still affected by the fatigue of using shadow magic. But before the monsters reached him, Leah put a reflective spirit barrier around Akira and reflected the monsters' attacks back at them, wiping them out. Now Oram had no choice and everything was over, and he was completely at Akira's mercy. Although Akira knew the logical thing was to finish him off, he hesitated because Oram looked very human. This moment of doubt cost him a lot because he waited too long. This gave time for the elder to arrive. Akira's heart sank. He barely survived a fight with a third-class demon and now stood before a second-class demon and did not know how he would survive. Knight warned him not to confront the demon directly under any circumstances. It was clear this man was on a completely different level, so he needed to play smart to live. The demon noticed Oram was out of the game, so he tossed him across the room with a strike of his power. Without wasting time, he threw a ribbon around the group and crushed the barrier. Leah made like paper, leaving her stunned because it broke so easily. She tried to get up and put another barrier, but Akira stopped her and warned her it was very dangerous. The demon agreed that withdrawal was wise and said he did not intend to hurt her anyway, and his goal was Amelia. In 1 second, the ribbon hit her and pushed her against the wall. Akira ran to her side, but the demon told him to relax because she was still alive, just unable to move now. So Akira looked at him angrily, and although he was eager to avenge Amelia, he knew confronting now would be suicide. So he started planning to escape, but Mahiro saw this immediately. Since chasing someone inside the labyrinth was tiring, he blocked all escape routes. Now Akira was trapped and forced to face him. The problem was that he used shadow magic once, and his energy was nearly depleted. With Mahiro's strength, there was no way to disappear suddenly. The demon asked Akira if his family name was like Oda Nobunaga or Kenetsu. The question shocked Akira, because the only way Mahiro would know details like this was if he was also Japanese. He confirmed introducing himself as Mahiro and said his way here was a bit different from Akira, but he was also from Japan. He admitted it would have been nice to meet in better circumstances, but his mission now was kidnapping Amelia, and if Akira stood in his way, he would have to kill him. Then he activated his power and released a barrage of energy shots. Akira tried to dodge them, but Mahiro controlled them completely. One curved in the air and hit his shoulder. Escaping was no longer possible. He tried to get close and attack, but was not fast enough, and Mahiro released a second wave. Dodging was no longer possible this time. Akira activated a limited version of his shadow magic, letting the energy disperse on his body instead of piercing it. Mahiro was surprised because he never saw magic like this before, but he did not understand that Akira's energy was about to run out, meaning he could not release magic at full power. Then Knight called out to him and said she managed to regain some of her strength and was ready to join. Akira recognized her immediately and asked if she intended to turn against them. She confirmed without hesitation that she would not return to serve the Demon Lord. Using the mental link, she told Akira he must cut the contract now. Akira did not understand, so Knight explained that she had a way to finish Mahiro forever, but it would cost her life. As long as the link was active, Akira would also die. She asked him to cut the contract to sacrifice her life for his life, but he refused immediately. Mahiro noticed they were communicating silent. He could have interrupted and killed him, but curiosity made him wait. Akira told Knight that when he was alone, he thought winning was impossible. Now with her, they might have a chance, and he would not let her sacrifice her life. Knight warned him again that there was no guarantee they would succeed, and the plan was risky, but Akira said he would take the risk if it meant her life would be spared. Knight did not like him putting himself in danger for her, but she respected his decision, so she used what remained of her energy and started to transform. With a brilliant golden light, Akira was shocked when he saw her looking exactly like Captain Saran. In this form, she could use all Saran's abilities, but the time was limited. She told Akira, "You must finish quickly." Without wasting time, she summoned Saran's signature spell, a hammer of light, huge, appearing in the sky, forcing Mahiro to put up a defensive shield. The brightness of the light also strengthened the shadow magic of Akira, so he covered himself in darkness and increased his power and rushed to attack. Knight attacked too, hitting Mahiro. With consecutive attacks, the pressure increased, and Mahiro started to collapse under the barrage of attacks. When Akira landed a clean hit on his back, Knight warned him quickly that her form would fade soon. But Akira did not care, confident that one blow was enough. But Mahiro still had a final card. Suddenly at his command, Amelia appeared behind Akira and thrust her hand into his chest. She was under Mahiro's will control. The moment the magic broke, her eyes widened in shock. She screamed, unable to comprehend what she did. Akira tried to calm her and told her it was not her fault, and he knew she would not hit him on purpose. But this did not change that he was bleeding fast. He continued to fight to silence the pain, deciding he could not die before achieving his goals. A second later, the light disappeared from his eyes, and his body went still and cold, and his heart almost stopped. The system inside him activated, sensing his critical condition immediately, and activated the healing mode. Emergency. Energy rushed from his body, and the system started repairing him. Mahiro tried to attack him, but the system created an unbreakable barrier, so the hit had no effect. After the healing was complete, Akira started to get up, but this time, he was not in control. The system classified Mahiro as a high threat, so it started the combat protocol and rushed towards him. The two crashed into each other with the system controlling. Akira's shadow magic became very sharp, so when Mahiro tried to attack him, with a desperate blow, Akira blocked it with a wall of shadows, then used the same shadows to restrain Mahiro. In place, the system gave a final warning. Return the magic on Amelia and disappear, or you will die here. But Mahiro refused to surrender. Instead, he focused on Amelia, intending to force Akira to face the danger to take the hit in her place. The system did not care about Amelia, but Akira did. Knowing she was in danger brought him back to consciousness immediately. He ran towards Amelia without thinking, using his body as a shield to protect her from the attack. But before the deadly spikes arrived, Mahiro's magic disappeared completely. The one who did this was Crow. He arrived at this point very worried about Akira, and coincidentally his timing was perfect. Mahiro was shocked because he was. Sure, Crow died many years ago, but here he was alive and standing before him. It was clear he was not someone Mahiro would like to fight right now. So he said, "I surrender," formed a teleportation circle, and disappeared from the battlefield with Oram. Akira breathed a sigh of relief, knowing it was over, and Amelia was safe. But all that fatigue finally fell on him, fainted. When he opened his eyes again, 3 days had passed. Amelia and Knight were by his side the whole time, and were very happy he woke up not far after. When Crow noticed Akira woke up, he came to check on him and brought some guests who were excited to see him. To Akira's surprise, these guests turned out to be his classmates. They explained they knew the location of Akira because Giles knew Crow from long ago. When they came to upgrade their equipment, he told them Akira's location. Akira smiled, truly happy that all of them were able to get out of the king's curse and escape the castle. They explained that Giles was the one who removed all the curses, and they were very grateful. Akira asked if Giles was really allowed to be here, because he could get in trouble for abandoning his post. But Giles did not care, and said there was no need to worry because he was expelled from the Knights already. The king decided the order was bothering him, so he disbanded them completely, just as Akira expected from him. Asahina came and told Akira he was waiting for this meeting, and asked if he was ready to cooperate with them. But Knight intervened and said she was the partner, only for Akira. Asahina replied, telling her to stay out of it. Akira raised his hand and asked everyone to calm down. Before answering, Tsukasa explained that they intended to go against the Demon Lord soon, but Knight mocked and said they were still not strong enough. Yuki was annoyed by the insult and asked why Knight was pressuring him like that. Akira agreed with Knight actually. They were still weak for this risk, but her style was not helping right now, so he asked her to calm down a bit outside the room. After Knight went out, Akira went back to ask the group why they intended to go against the Demon Lord. Tsukasa explained that if they succeeded, their influence would increase, and they might be able to negotiate with the King of Ravens, and maybe he could send them home as long as he summoned them. There must be a way to return them. On paper, the plan was reasonable, but Akira was not convinced. What made them think they could negotiate with someone who controlled a group of children and killed Sauron for his interests? And even if the king could return them, Akira refused to make any deal with someone who sacrificed hundreds of innocents to bring them to his world. At this point, the others asked Akira what his plan was because he must want to return to his world. Akira explained that Mahiro the demon could make teleportation circles, so possibly know something that would help them return. He intended to break the Demon Lord's castle one day and force him to talk. Before anything, he had to avenge Sauron's death, and after that, he would do anything to return home. These words hit Amelia hard. She wanted his success more than anything, but she also did not want to be left behind. Overwhelmed by emotions, she left the room silently to clear her head. Akira followed her and found her standing on the edge of the cliff overlooking the water. Amelia admitted she always knew they had to part ways one day, but it was not easy to face this. There was something she needed to confess. Akira Akira tried to tell her there was no need to apologize for what happened in the labyrinth because it was not her fault. Mahiro was controlling her, but that was not what she meant. She said Akira broke her, but for a moment, a part of her felt relieved because if Akira died by her hands, he would never forget her. The thought of him returning to his world and erasing her from his memory scared her more than anything. She knew this was a terrible thought. Akira did not know how to respond, but he knew his feelings toward her. He told her there was a custom where two people pledged to live together and wore rings on their fourth fingers. He did not have a ring, so he extended a sword to Amelia and etched a ring around his finger with it, looked into her eyes, and said he loved her, and if she agreed, he wanted to be her life partner. Amelia's heart exploded with joy, and she told him she loved him too. With tears in her eyes, she made the same cut on her finger to match him. Akira held her hand gently and asked if she wanted anything from him. Amelia held onto him and said all she wanted was for him to promise that he would not die, would not forget, and would not leave her. And Akira swore he would do everything he could to keep these promises. With the sunrise on the horizon, their kiss was the beginning of something beautiful. At Crow's house, Tomoya told everyone about a festival in a nearby city and mentioned there was an annual beauty contest. But there was a dark twist. Every year, the winners disappeared after the event, so there were rumors of a human trafficking network. The group believed this talk was true and decided if they caught those responsible, they would prove themselves to Akira. The next day, they all went to the city of Moli. Since Amelia was excited about the food and fun at the festival, Akira decided to go with them. When they arrived, Amelia glowed with joy at the idea of participating in the contest, thinking there might be food as a prize. Akira walked silently so as not to ruin her mood. On the way to registration, they saw a scene where a girl was screaming at the reception, accusing them of racism. Being curious, Akira asked what was happening. The girl explained that demons were forbidden from participating. She was surprised when she said she was a demon herself, but was not happy at all. Knight recognized her immediately, and the girl introduced herself as Lottie. After he knew she was a demon, Akira tried to see her stats, but nothing appeared. Suddenly, Lottie grabbed his arm and asked for his help to enter the contest. Amelia, not happy about another girl touching him, intervened and pulled him away and showed her medallion for registration. When the reception saw it, they knew immediately she was the elf princess. Amelia was happy because she got the respect she deserved, but she looked angrily at Akira because he let another girl handle him. He tried to explain that Lottie stuck to him suddenly after provoking jealousy in Amelia. Lottie kept arguing with the reception and pointed out that all races were allowed except demons. Amelia admitted that Lottie did not look like a monster, so Akira decided to take responsibility for her. With Amelia's approval, the reception agreed to enter her under her name. Lottie thanked him and suddenly recognized Knight. Knight said she was now under Akira's contract. When Akira asked how they knew each other, Knight said she would explain later because there was some time before the contest started. Lottie invited Amelia to watch the festival with her, and she agreed. A while later, Lottie was in front of the crowd hyping them up and handing out signatures. Knight laughed and told Akira Lottie was on a completely different wavelength, and Amelia said Lottie was okay for a demon. Not far away, some girls noticed Akira and started whispering excitedly, calling him the silent assassin. He was confused about the source of the title, but Crow explained to him that this was the name people gave him after he used his shadow skills to protect the city from the monster attack. As a reward, Crow presented Akira with a yellow adventurer medal and said the guild officially raised his rank. Akira did not care, but Amelia said she was silver rank and her sister Kilika was gold. The rest of the students also said they stood with him if he needed help. At that moment, Lottie called Amelia and signaled her to try some food, so she walked away excited. Akira told Knight to guard her if anyone tried to do something, and wondered how Amelia got excited with Lottie so fast. Crow explained that the trip to Moli took 2 full days, so they might have gotten closer there. Akira asked what brought Crow to the festival. Crow looked shocked and mentioned his deceased sister. He explained that all this time he did not try to take revenge on Graham, not because he did not want to, but because he knew he was not strong enough now and his power started to decline over the years. Akira found it hard to believe because he still looked tough, but Crow explained that Beastkin could age without showing much on the outside. Graham, on the other hand, always surrounded himself with elite guards, and Crow was honest enough to admit he would not stand a chance against them now. He also revealed that Graham had a long reach, and it was possible that he was the one who leaked Amelia's location to the demons when she was captured by Aurum. In the end, Crow told Akira that the only reason he saved him in the monster labyrinth was because he wanted Akira to owe him, meaning if he had not intervened, Akira would have died there. Then he revealed his true request, which shocked Akira completely to the point he was stunned and unable to speak. But Crow calmly told him to think about it and give him a real answer later. At this moment, Giles came to remind Crow that they needed to finish the lodging arrangements. Crow coldly told Akira that the main part of the festival was about to start. Later in the arena, Akira and the students gathered in a VIP room overlooking the platform of the contest thanks to Crow's connections. Nanase was very happy with the special treatment, and Asahina nodded, in agreement, seeing it as a smart move considering how famous Akira was now. But despite the perks, Akira sat silent, drowning in his thoughts, even as the event started outside. Finally, Amelia's name was called, and she sent Akira a wink from her eye, and even he admitted she looked wonderful. While everyone was convinced Amelia won the contest, suddenly, the stage exploded. Lottie appeared in a dark, mysterious cloak. The audience muttered in confusion, but she quietly started arranging magic crystals on the stage. In a moment, the crystals exploded, a huge display of lights and illusions that revealed Lottie's true dress in a dramatic way, and the audience went crazy with joy. After the final votes were counted, the judge announced a tie, meaning Amelia and Lottie shared first place. Lottie was a bit frustrated. Clearly she wanted to win alone, but Akira told her it was still impressive that she could match Amelia's beauty. Amelia, happy with his words, smiled. Lottie watched silently the closeness between the two, then looked at Amelia, and smiled and promised her a rematch next year. Knight intervened and warned Lottie that she might be risking too much with the attention she attracted. Lottie did not care and said it didn't matter to her because she ran away and was still upset with her father. This caught Akira's attention, so he became curious and asked Knight who her father was. Knight sighed and revealed the truth that Lottie was the Demon Lord's daughter. The room went completely silent. At the same time, Graham was watching the group from far away through surveillance cameras. One of his guards asked to intervene, but Graham refused and said there was no need to intervene directly. Instead, he ordered his small troops to move and boasted that unlike the demons, he would capture Amelia his way. Then, Akira finally managed to examine Lottie with his world eye, and what he saw shocked him very much, because her stats were much higher than any expectation. Amelia simply mentioned that she always felt Lottie was very strong and reminded Akira to use the world eye anytime he felt something strange, and also told him to use it every time someone bad appeared. Akira nodded knowing she meant well, but behind his calm face his brain was busy. Every time he used the cursed skill, he got disturbing visions of his dead classmates. At that moment, Giles and Crow appeared and told everyone they found an inn. Giles paused and asked if they should book a separate room for Lottie, but she shook her head and said she would sleep outside, explaining it was better because she would affect the other guests with her demonic aura. Amelia agreed and told her to meet them tomorrow to receive the contest prizes together. At night, Akira wondered aloud why they had to wait until tomorrow to get the prizes. So Tsukasa intervened and said the organizers of the contest were not quite ready to hand out the prizes. When Akira asked how he knew, Tsukasa revealed he entered the men's section and won easily. While he was there, he noticed the staff running in a hurry, clearly unprepared for the award ceremony. Amelia immediately thought the prize would be a delicious meal. Crow said all they did was just business discussions, but Amelia was not convinced and warned him not to pressure Akira into doing things he didn't want. Crow smiled and told her to remember when Akira could not kill Oram in the labyrinth. Did he hesitate because of values, or did someone stop him? Amelia refused to answer and told him Akira had the right to live his life his way, and no one, not Crow or anyone else, had the right to change that. Crow assured her that he never intended to force anyone to do anything, and Akira's decision was his alone. He added that when the moment came, Akira might abandon these principles and kill if it meant protecting her. Amelia froze because the idea that he might kill someone for her shook her deeply. On the next day, everyone set off for the award ceremony. Lottie asked aloud where Akira was, and Amelia simply said he passed out at the hotel so he didn't have to come, as it was just protocol. Meanwhile, Tsukasa quietly told Asahina they would remain cautious because it was very likely human traffickers would attack during the event. With Akira absent, they felt a bit relieved and thought it was their chance to prove their worth. After a short walk, they arrived and were puzzled why. The award ceremony was inside an old and scary building. While waiting for the staff to appear, suddenly a group of men stormed the place. When the strangers asked for Amelia by name, she narrowed her eyes suspecting they announced they were here on Graham's orders to take her. Amelia mocked. She wouldn't lower herself to a level like this. Although she wanted to stay out of it, the group did not back down and prepared to fight without thinking. Amelia formed dense gravity balls and crushed them onto them, pinning them to the ground. Then she grabbed their leader and demanded answers, but he remained silent at first. After some magical persuasion, he revealed that Graham had been kidnapping winners of previous contests, harvesting their organs and selling them like goods. Although whispers about this horror spread, the vile noble was always able to bury the truth with bribes and money. When Amelia heard that Graham intended to sell her like cattle, her blood boiled, and she intensified the gravity magic balls, ready to crush the whole team. But before she finished them off, Laddie ran inside and screamed at her to stop. She told Amelia that even lowly people like these often had their their reasons and twisted stories that brought them here. In Lottie's view, strength and weakness did not determine someone's value, and every fighter deserved a fair chance. So she said firmly she would not allow anyone to die before her eyes without knowing them. Akira watched everything silently through telepathic vision because Amelia's sleep spell accidentally linked their minds. Then Lottie told Amelia she could do whatever she wanted when she was not around, but here she would protect everyone no matter who they were from afar. Akira agreed silently because he never liked seeing Amelia kill with her own eyes. Inside his heart, he was grateful that she stopped her, but at the same time, he wondered if the roles were reversed one day, and he was the one forced to kill, how Amelia would look at him then. Later, Akira sat talking calmly with Giles and asked how he knew Crow. Giles explained that his mother was one of Crow's students, but she could not handle the violent training and lost her mind. With Paul, who was already gone, Crow had no choice but to intervene and raise him. Giles said he saw Crow as more than just a mentor and looked at him as an adoptive father, saying he owed him his entire life and did not blame Crow for what happened to his mother. Akira thought this was the right view and commented that Crow seemed like a respectable man. Giles agreed and said he helped many people, including Akira himself, and added that if Akira wanted to repay the favor, he should move quickly because that gloomy creature did not have much time. At that moment, Night, disguised as a bird, flew in from the window and announced she had big news. She said Graham's dirty followers placed surveillance magic all over the city and watched the winners of the beauty contest like prey. Since Amelia won the crown this time, she was under constant surveillance. This news affected Akira deeply and made it clear he needed to stop stalling and make a decision regarding Crow's request faster than he wanted. Then, Akira asked Giles about the magical devices that recorded video and wanted to know their name here. Giles said simply they were called cameras. This surprised Akira, but Knight intervened and said the idea came from an ancient summoned hero, and the inhabitants figured out how to replicate the idea with magic. Giles added that many inventions were transferred from former heroes, but the biggest example was the Yamato nation, because the eating, buildings, and culture completely resembled a hero's country. Afterward, Amelia and the others returned from their short trip, and Akira did not waste time and summoned the core members to a back room to speak with them privately. Asahina was pleased, imagining this meant Akira finally decided to join their team, but instead of answering, Akira looked at them and asked if they brought the group to this city, knowing that winners were kidnapped. Tsukasa was surprised and asked how he knew. Akira said calmly he had his cat dig up the truth. Asahina and Tsukasa lowered their heads and admitted they hid it from him, explaining they just wanted to prove themselves to him, although they failed to achieve any real progress. Akira told them he appreciated their intentions and was happy to see them fully ready for battle. Asahina asked if this meant Akira would finally join their group. Akira nodded and said their goals were compatible and he would support them, but he clarified that his priority was different from the rest of the class because the most important thing to him was ensuring Graham never touched Amelia again. At that time, Crow intervened and said if Akira was serious, he must go to the city of Ir because Graham ran the Adventurers Guild there. Asahina offered to go with him, but Akira refused and said this was something he must deal with alone. Crow told him if he did that, he personally would lead him across the Demon Continent because he was there before. Giles decided that while Akira faced Graham, he and the rest of the hero team would move forward and wait near the borders of the Demon Continent for further instructions. He took out a map and Asahina pointed to a potential meeting spot, but Crow refused immediately. When Akira asked why, Giles admitted that was Crow's mother's place, and he clearly did not want to go near it. This sparked Akira's curiosity, especially since he heard Crow was very old, so his mother was supposed to have died long ago. Giles ignored the subject and said to leave the story for another day. Then Crow suggested a different meeting place. After they agreed on everything, the group started preparing for their individual missions. While Akira searched for something on the trip that would take 5 days to the capital, Amelia pulled Crow aside and told him to stop pressuring her man. Crow dismissed the matter and said all he did was just business talk, and if Akira got stressed, that was on his head because he was weak. Amelia ignored him and told him to take her as an apprentice. He reminded her he said no before, but she was persistent and told him she had people ready to kill for her, and she would not allow Akira to sacrifice his values to protect her. Crow was a bit pleased and saw she was serious and wanted to take responsibility, so he agreed to take her under his wing. After a while, Akira was ready to leave, and Giles handed him a bag he forgot in Saren's room when he fled the kingdom. Asahina said Akira would continue training and strengthening himself, and while waiting and exchanging a final promise not to die, Akira set off on his next journey, taking Amelia and Crow with him. Crow started training Amelia inside the carriage, and she was very exhausted from the pace of the intense training and fell asleep immediately after the lesson finished. Akira watched her sleeping and asked Crow if he was pushing her too hard, but Crow dismissed the matter and said Amelia might be his most brilliant student, and admitted he admired her very much because he heard about her inventing summoning magic, and said saving her homeland. This impressed him greatly. He even told Akira he was so impressed by her legend that he once named his neighbor's baby a part of her name. Akira immediately understood it was Princess Leah, and Crow confirmed this. Then Akira asked why. If he respected Amelia like that, he was cold to her before. Crow replied honestly, saying she did not meet expectations. But after seeing how she handled his lessons well, his respect for her started to return. He narrated that the hero who worked with him before used a spell that could copy or cancel any magic used against them, and Crow actually managed to imitate it. Implementing something like this required mastering the ancient language completely, and this was very difficult. But Amelia was doing something stranger, creating a new skill that let her understand the ancient language. Instant. Akira commented that Crow was an exceptional person to learn it manually, and Crow said he had plenty of time. Crow explained that beastkin naturally live double the lifespan of normal humans, and on top of that, his mother drank a strange potion while pregnant with him, doubling his lifespan again. So Akira finally understood. But then Crow added that his long life did not make a big difference, and if he could take his sisters right, he would be ready to die without regret. At the same time, Night was walking alone and spying on the Adventurers Guild and meddling in local government affairs as Akira ordered her. There, she met Lottie, who was also wandering without a specific direction. As soon as she heard Night was digging into something, it attracted her, and she told her she would help whether she liked it or not. With the group, Akira finally arrived at the city of Uruk, the capital of the Beastkin Kingdom. Crow told Akira he would handle arrangements and asked him to take Amelia on a sightseeing tour. At this time, Akira objected and said he knew nothing about the place. But Crow reassured him and said Leah was coming anyway and told him to meet her at the giant fountain in the city center at night and encouraged him to enjoy his time. So Akira and Amelia went out to spend the day together and decided to enjoy a normal date before Leah arrived. They tried different foods and shared simple moments. Afterward, the Beast Princess finally arrived to show them the city. She took them on a boat tour and explained that floating on the river was the best way to experience the heart of the city. Then, Leah took them toward the royal palace and revealed that her father, the king of Uruk, arranged an official banquet to honor the elf princess's arrival. Akira took a moment to thank her for saving their lives in the last incident and asked if her skill in barrier reversal was a copy of Crow's spell. This talk surprised Leah quickly, and she clarified that her technique was just a modification on normal magic, and it could break if stressed hard. But Crow's spell was completely different, a version that worked instantly, and no magic or attack could overcome it. She admitted she tried to imitate Crow's version. Then Akira remembered Amelia was training under Crow and thought Leah might have tips to share. The moment she heard Crow was teaching Amelia the barrier reversal spell, Leah lost control of herself. Then she looked at Akira and said he was amazing like Crow, even praising how awesome he was when he used shadow magic to destroy the demon. But Akira did not have the heart to tell her he was not exactly in control at the time. After a while, they arrived at the throne room in the palace where the Beast King received Amelia and Akira personally. After exchanging greetings, the king thanked Amelia for saving his adopted daughter in the dungeon. Amelia said humbly that Crow and Akira were the ones who saved her. The king nodded and said he would thank Crow personally later. Then he looked at Akira and told him he had a specific mission for someone with his unique skills. Akira replied calmly that he would think about it after hearing the full story. The official soldiers got tense from his casual tone, but the king did not mind and said frankly that he needed someone to get rid of a person, and in return he would guarantee Akira a full life in the kingdom. Akira refused completely. This left the king in a state of panic and desperation. He increased the reward and asked him to deal with Graham in any way. Now Akira was surprised, wondering why everyone was determined to kill Graham. The king explained that despite removing Graham from his position as minister, he still exploited his authority as head of the Adventurers Guild and unleashed his mercenaries, causing chaos that ruined the kingdom's image. But Akira looked at the king and told him honestly, this was not his problem. This was not his business. The king sat again, promising full protection, but Akira replied boldly he did not need protection from someone weaker than him and was strong enough to take care of himself. This angered the royal guard commander, who got annoyed and accused Akira of not being as strong as rumors said. Amelia immediately got angry and prepared to fight the commander herself, but Akira stopped her and said that proving his skills would silence everyone faster. The centaur actually liked the idea and asked the king to authorize a duel between them. Despite Leah's protests, the king agreed, and the two men went to the arena to settle the matter. As soon as they arrived, Akira threw his dual weapon to Amelia, which the centaur saw as a big insult, thinking Akira was mocking him. After the duel started, the centaur attacked from the side and threw rocks to force Akira to retreat, but Akira dodged easily, moved past the centaur's fast attack, and tied a rope around his back leg. This alone did not stop the commander, and he pulled Akira towards him. Akira ducked under the heavy axe blow and used the nearby building to jump and hit, the centaur ending the fight immediately. He disarmed the commander's weapon and pressed a sword to his neck, winning winning the duel cleanly. The king was very impressed, and Amelia told him not to ask Akira for anything else. The king accepted, and then suddenly started mocking Amelia because she loved a human shorter than her. His words affected her deeply, and she sat silent as she and Akira left the palace, and he noticed her mood and asked quietly if she was okay. Amelia said in a low voice that her presence with him made her happy and he was wonderful. He thanked her for choosing him instead of staying with her people. Her tears fell, and she hugged him and said if he died, she would die with him. Then Akira arrived at the luxury hotel Crow booked thanks to a large debt owed to its owner. Amelia suggested they play a little in bed before dinner, but Akira refused and said he preferred to spend the time reading. Crow laughed and said Akira reminded him of another person obsessed with knowledge, and this person became known as the sage. Akira was curious and asked whom he meant. Crow said it was Saron. Akira was shocked and admitted he owed Saron more than he could say and vowed he would avenge him one day. There, Crow told him he could achieve this if he accepted his request. Akira inquired, and Crow revealed the bomb that Saron's killers were hired by the king, but the assassination was orchestrated Graham. Hearing this shook Akira deeply, and for the first time, the idea of killing Graham himself became very real. Crow told him that he asked him to finish off Graham before, and now he had enough reasons to carry this out. Amelia got angry immediately and asked Crow to withdraw the request, saying it hurt Akira. But Crow sufficed by saying this was Akira's decision now. He could refuse if he wanted, and clarified he would guide him only if the mission was executed. Then he offered the deal more, and promised him to repair his tools for free without material or labor cost, and also let him keep the ring of tracking that showed him any object he desired. On top of all that, Akira was not required to repay the favor of saving them in the dungeon. Amelia screamed telling him to stop, but Akira signaled her to be silent and told her there was no need to make herself a lawyer. He reminded her that this was his decision and she did not need to get stressed. Amelia tried to say killing was wrong, but before she finished, Akira told her honestly if Graham was really the cause of Saron's death, then he deserved punishment. And since he was targeting Amelia too, eliminating him might be the smart decision. Then Crow insisted he was not joking when he said the king sent hitmen after Graham. Amelia said it did not matter, but Akira told her again to back off. Crow continued with the report explaining that Graham was surrounded by the strongest guards on the whole continent, drugged with magical enhancers. These drugs turned normal soldiers into demonic monsters, but removed their free will. Crow warned that Graham might build a complete army of willless monsters ready to fight demons, and this made him a big threat. Akira understood this might be the reason the assassins succeeded in eliminating Saron, and Crow agreed, saying even Saron could not deal with a squad on these enhancers, and warned them to deal with Graham quickly because every delay would make it worse. Graham was smuggling slaves and suspicious goods to demons in exchange for rare materials in the demon continent, and using them to make bigger enhancers and grow his army. When Akira understood the seriousness of the matter, he went out to think. Amelia followed him silently, clearly worried, and Crow sat behind, feeling that any decision Akira took would affect him and the closest people to him in any way. The next day, when Akira met, Crow tension was visible on him, but his mind was still full of heavy thoughts. Then Leah arrived, and, without wasting a second, apologized to Akira for what happened in the royal palace yesterday. He reassured her and told her it was not her fault, although he admitted he was annoyed a bit at the king. But Leah explained she was really apologizing because she failed to stop her father from trying to drag Akira into his dirty work. Crow perked up and asked if the king seriously asked Akira to finish off Graham. Akira nodded and added that he refused the mission. Already, Crow scoffed and said if Graham was exposed to the people, they would tarnish the king's image. And if the king tried to deal with the matter officially and failed, Graham's influence would increase more. That is why he tried to use someone expendable like Akira to eliminate Graham quietly. Leah lowered her head again and apologized to both of them and said her father did not even respect Amelia, and this was the first thing, to make Akira react. But Amelia ignored it and said it was very simple and she did not remember much of it. Then Leah asked for a valid chance to make up for it by showing them the city, and with a small push from Crow, they agreed and were happy with their reaction. Leah also invited Crow to come with them. As she took them to the less famous corners of the city, she thanked Crow quietly for standing by her before. In a moment, Amelia noticed something and suggested that Leah and Crow split from them, and said she wanted some time alone with Akira. Crow understood the signal and agreed without issues, going to follow them after they disappeared. Akira asked Amelia why she sent them away like that. She told him frankly that it was clear Leah liked Crow, so she thought she would help them a bit. Akira was shocked, especially because of the age difference, but Amelia dismissed it and said for Beastkin age did not matter. Besides, she wanted to talk to him seriously. She led him to a quiet bridge and asked him to refuse Crow's offer. According to her, they could reach the demon continent without his help. She even brought up something. Lottie told her that even bad people had their reasons, and not all of them deserved death for their past. At the same time, Lottie was still walking with Knight on a reconnaissance mission. He could not believe she was still there, but she said said calmly she would do anything to keep her away from her father. Knight admitted he knew they did not get along, but did not know things were that difficult. Lottie exploded and said just because she was a demon's daughter did not mean he could change the rules of the world. Knight was about to press her for more details, but Lottie suddenly spotted an inn in front of them and a hotel, forgot what they were talking about, and went straight to it, ignoring Knight's call for her to wait. Inside the hotel, Lottie ordered dry bread to eat while she was talking to the receptionist. She asked him if she was an adventurer wanting to make money fast. She nodded and said she intended to try her luck in the capital. The receptionist warned her to be careful because high-paying jobs in the city involved great risks and demons were also involved, but Lottie ignored the matter as if it was simple. Then the employee suggested she stick to delivery missions to the human kingdom. The pay was not great, but it was safer. Lottie was curious and asked for details. The man explained that the guild master used adventurers for delivery instead of regular transport companies, and this might mean there was something strange involved. After leaving the hotel, Lottie looked at Knight with a proud smile and asked his opinion on her information gathering skills. Knight was impressed and thought she planned everything well and said that they really obtained good information about Guildmaster Graham, but he added she would have completed the mission perfectly if she hadn't left her mark on the hotel wall before leaving. Inside the city, Akira told Amelia that despite Lottie's logical words about understanding villains, this would not change his mind. He explained that he decided to avenge Saron long before he met her, and now he felt a bigger motivation to eliminate Graham to protect her. Amelia tried to reassure him and said she was getting stronger and could protect herself no matter who targeted her. But Akira was not convinced and said that refusing Crow's offer would be like slow rot under the weight of the revenge he wanted to finish. And with that, they finished the conversation and he returned his focus to the journey. Meanwhile, Crow was leading Leah away from the edge of the city. She asked where they were going. He told her she would know when they arrived. Leah crossed her arms and frowned, saying he always treated her like a small child and complained that he never took her seriously and wouldn't teach her the barrier reversal spell, even though he was training Amelia. Crow explained that teaching her something like this could destroy her mind. Before she replied, he announced they arrived, standing in a vast field full of red spider lilies. Leah was happy because it was her first time seeing them. Crow told her these flowers were originally from Akira's world, and a hero from the Seed era brought them when they moved to this world. Leah extended her hand to touch a flower, but Crow stopped her gently and warned her they were poisonous. He shared that Akira told him red spider lilies symbolized death in the other world, which was why they looked scary and beautiful. The idea touched Leah. She asked quietly why he brought her here. Crow replied he stumbled upon the field while walking and decided to bring her. She joked and said if he brought someone he loved here and confessed to them no one could refuse. But Crow mocked the idea. She tried to convince him it was better to be with a partner in his life, but he refused and said he gave up on happiness when he decided to avenge his sister. He said the only thing keeping him going now was his mission to destroy Graham's life, and to him he would not deserve happiness again. The words affected Leah deeply, and she wanted to say something, but the words did not come out of her mouth. Elsewhere, the group was walking towards the borders of the demon continent. On the way, they hunted a bear for food because their supplies had run out. Then they set up camp, and while some of the group went to look for vegetables and wild mushrooms, Giles started placing magical alarms around the perimeter. Tsukasa and Asahina stood to rest and slept a little on the ground. They were talking about how much extra effort Giles put in to take care of them. Asahina said Giles might be doing what Saron would have done if he was still alive. This talk made Tsukasa bring up Akira and said that man did not need help from anyone even on Earth. Tsukasa never liked Akira because he always acted as if Tsukasa did not exist at all. Asahina laughed and said Akira maybe never even thought about him. Tsukasa nodded and said he was fine with that and knew Akira was not the type to get close to people, and more importantly, he was much stronger than any of them. Both agreed that although they were classified as heroes from another world, in reality, they were only a bit stronger than the locals here. But Akira was on a completely different level, not just in strength, but also in his decisiveness in every decision he took. Tsukasa said he wished to be that confident in his actions one day, but maybe now was not the time. At the same time, in Uruk, Akira and Amelia sat by the fountain waiting for Crow and Leah to appear. Amelia looked at him and asked if he really intended to carry out the assassination. Akira nodded his head and said there were too many reasons preventing him from turning back. She told him she would not stand in his way if that was truly his decision, but she also noticed he was not fully clear with himself about what he really wanted. Akira asked her honestly if she would hate him if he carried out the killing of Graham, but she reassured him that she could never hate him. However, she said she wanted him to be sure to live with a peaceful mind and not take a decision he would regret. The conversation was interrupted suddenly by the voice of a child, a little girl screaming at a nearby kiosk, refusing to leave without taking some shiny jewelry. This scene reminded Akira of his sister, who once made the same scene when they had had to move from their childhood home after their father went to get milk and did not return. They had to move to a cheaper apartment so they could survive. Akira also did not hold anger against their father because he lived in great suffering between caring for his sick wife, raising 2 children, and working a job with full-time hours. Akira understood why he might reach his limits and leave, but he could not stay in the house where his sister was raised, so he had to convince her that they must stay together now, no matter what happened. They moved to the new apartment, and Ayu said immediately it was very tight. Akira smiled and told her it was the size, perfect for the 3 of them. Then when he cooked lunch, he burnt some of it, but it still turned out okay. His mother and sister ate with a smile. They even suggested taking turns in the kitchen and working together from now on. At that time, Akira felt that maybe there was still hope and all was not lost. Back to reality, he heard Amelia asking him what he was thinking about. He hurried and said nothing, but inside he knew that part of the reason making him hesitant to kill Graham was linked to his family. He feared if he returned home with hands covered in blood, he would not deserve to be with them again. And with this, our story ends today. Before we end our story, do not forget to like, share, and comment on the video, because this encourages us to continue. And if you are new to our channel, subscribe and activate the bell button to receive everything new. See you all soon.